What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope we're all doing well. So we're going to start with the home run derby from last night. Crazy finish between Kyle Schwarber and Jordan Walker. I'm going to show you a clip from the very end of it in a moment here, and then I'm going to talk about just how crazy the ending up to that home run derby was.
Left. And will that one be enough? I don't think he got it. Even the bank is... And listen to this crowd. Final round total was 11. There's another, number 7 for Jordan Walker. That should do it. Get out. Number 8 for Jordan Walker tonight in the final round. He has shown the talent. There we go. That's one. Yes. Number 9 for Jordan Walker. He is not done. Wow. About him that is so impressive. Unless. Closer still with number 10. Wow. We are tied. Is not afraid. Wow. Is that enough? Is that enough? Jordan Walker wins it! Come on, baby! Come on!
So in the final round of the home run derby, by the way, thank God that they changed the format. From now, it was from a time limit, so we couldn't actually see each home run. So now we could actually admire each crazy home run. Each guy got a certain number of swings. There was no time limit. So much better. They should have never went to a time limit. All those years ago, that was a stupid move by Major League Baseball a few years ago. Thank God they went back to this. Kyle Schwarber, of course, hometown guy who since Bank Park, Philly star, hit 11 home runs in the final round. Jordan Walker was at 6 with 4 swings left. Remember, the new rule is 20 swings. In the first round, you get 15 each. In the last 2 rounds, each round, if you hit your home run on your last swing, you get those magenta balls that you got to hit those little pink magenta balls, but you keep going until you don't hit a home run. So 4 swings left. Jordan Walker is at 6. So keep in mind, he has to run the table and then hit a magenta ball out at the very least. His fourth to last swing, it's one deep left center, towering fly ball, comes up a few feet short. So now he's at 6 home runs with only 3 swings left, so odds are obviously against him. So he has to completely run the table and get multiple magenta balls out. 3 swings left, he hits a bomb to left center. That gets him to 7 home runs, but still only 2 swings left. He's at 7, needs 4 more. Next pitch, deep left center again. That one is gone. Gets him to 8, but he's only got 1 swing left. This is the last pitch that's actually a regular baseball in the derby. And he hits one to dead central way out of there. Gets him to 9 home runs. Now he's got to hit at least 2 magenta balls out in a row in order to tie Kyle Schwarber. Next pitch that he takes a swing at, deep left center, gone. Gets him to 10 home runs. So he's got to hit this one out to give himself a chance. Next swing, deep to left field on a line drive is out of here. He ties it. So now he has 1 swing to win it. Otherwise, we go to the swing off. And it's a towering fly ball deep to left field. It is gone. Jordan Walker is your home run derby champion. What a performance from Jordan Walker, one of the best young sluggers in baseball. Was a superstar prospect a few years ago. St. Louis. Last couple of years has really struggled, spent time in the minor leagues. Guys completely wrote him off, but has had a complete uptick in production this year, career year from him, having a great season. Was named to the All-Star team for the National League. His bat speed has gone up a tremendous amount this season. And what a performance, while getting booed because he was going against the hometown guy in Kyle Schwarber. And what a bar He had at the end. He said, I think he said something like, I'm paraphrasing. I apologize, but he said like somebody once said, "You don't boo bums." So kind of spit it back at the at that nauseating Philadelphia crowd, which was awesome. So kudos to Jordan Walker. What a performance! Really entertaining derby. But Netflix should never, ever have the home run derby weekend. That was a pathetic broadcast. Every angle was different. There were times they cut to like the backstop while the ball's in midair and then cut to as it was landing. It was absolutely terrible. And a home run derby like that, a fun expedition should never be behind a paywall. We gotta stop doing that. A few years ago, I've said to people off camera, I think I said it on camera too, that I didn't mind all these paywalls. I didn't mind if it was on streaming. If people want to watch something, they're gonna watch it. But it's gotten out of control. It's only if you have a regular season game here and there, maybe a playoff game here and there, like in the first round. But now everything's behind a paywall, and it's just gotten completely out of control. And the NFL has a playoff game on there. Obviously, Thursday night football games are all on Prime. Now Netflix has multiple NFL games. They got opening day this year, which was a disaster to the Yankees and the Giants. They have the home run derby. And it's gotten out of control, and it's something that definitely needs to be dealt with. But the new format was a lot better, much better viewing experience. Very fun derby to watch, and Jordan Walker is your 2026 home run derby champion. And for a guy who only makes 800 grand, which is obviously not a lot for a major league ball player, he wins $1 million. So he got someone did the math on Twitter. So the $125 million, 125% a raise technically from his wing. So kudos to Jordan Walker. Random sports dump. Cardinals extend J.J. Wetterhold 8 years, $112 million. Wetterhold has had a very good rookie season for the Cardinals. He's 23 years old. Was seventh overall pick just 2 years ago out of West Virginia. This year it's hit 259 for 350 on base, 13 homers and 36 RBIs, has stolen 9 bases, a 755 OPS. Has had a very good rookie season. Just 23 years old. He gets a long-term extension until he's 31 with the St. Louis Cardinals. So more good news for St. Louis Cardinals, who of course just saw Jordan Walker win the home run derby. To some basketball, the Kawhi Leonard trade is on hold because of the investigation. He tried to escape to Canada, and the NBA said, no, 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 no. If we clear you, trade can go through. Otherwise, no. Nice try, Kawhi. So that's still being investigated. That's a whole mess. The Bucks are re-signing Gary Trent on a 4-year, $64 million contract. So Gary Trent, he was just sent in a trade. He was originally had been traded by the Bucks along with Taurean Prince to Detroit for Caris LeVert and some second round picks, and the Bucks just said we're re-signing. Technically, he still had his rights because he's a restricted free agent. So that's pretty nuts. NBA hasn't really commented on it. I really think they're just so tied up with this Kawhi bullshit that they're not. They're just letting it slide. But Trent last year, he averaged 8 points a game in 65 games. Shot from three, shot 36% on 5 attempts a game. So he's a solid 3-point shooter to have on the bench. Best year of his career came with Toronto in 2022 when he averaged 18 points a game and shot 38% from three. He didn't get much playing time last year on Milwaukee, but he's only going to be 28 this coming year. He can shoot, and Milwaukee brings him back on a $60 million a year deal. The Denver Nuggets are signing a EuroLeague star. Alpha Diallo is a 1-year deal of worth $1.4 million. Diallo last year had a very good year playing overseas, averaging 11, almost 12 points a game, 4 rebounds, averaged almost a steal and a half a game. Was named the Defensive Player of the Year for the EuroLeague. Also, had the most steals in the entire league. He was in Monaco for 5 years before he went to started playing in Greece. He won 3 championships in the French league. Also, he is a very established EuroLeague player. Actually played college at Providence for 4 years a bunch of years ago. Was undrafted in 2020 and went right to Europe after that. And now he joins Denver, so I don't know what he can give them, but supposedly he's a very good defender based off his accolades in Europe. So it's definitely, I think, worth a try for Denver Nuggets, who lack a lot of depth and a lot of defensive intensity. Now they have a potentially high level defender coming over from Europe in Alpha Diallo. Apparently, he's leaving about $2 million on the table, so he's definitely making a leap of faith. So good for him. Let's further extend Victor Wembanyama, 5 years, $252 million, so he gets his rookie scale max extension. I think he could have gotten 301. He leaves about $50 million on the table that the Spurs can build. First of all, the fact that a $50 million pay cut still means the guy's getting 250 million in the NBA is crazy. I think guys should continue to do this. You see Jalen Brunson take a $113 million pay cut so they can build up their roster. 2 seasons later, they were able to win a championship. If he takes that pay cut, that allowed them to make the trade to go out and get Karl Anthony Towns. That allowed them this past summer to re-sign Jose Alvarado, to re-sign Landry Shamet, to re-sign Jordan Clarkson. Well, allow them, although they weren't able to re-sign Mitchell Robinson, allow them to actually replace him with Andre Drummond. Bring back Muhammad Diawara, a young guy who they like a lot. That they may use their last roster spot on Yoel Valanciunas, probably on a veteran minimum. He was just waived by Denver as a third center. And so that should be the blueprint because they already allowed them to do all these things. Think about it. They signed, I think it was Alvarado, Shamet, Clarkson, Drummonds, and maybe it was Diawara. Those five guys got a combined 17, are making a combined 17 million this coming season. You think about it on a per year basis, they save what, like 27 or 20 million a season compared to what they would have been paying Jalen Brunson, and so they would not have been able to do that without that pay cut. So we'll see if if Wembanyama deal allows the Spurs to do that. Because remember, Dylan Harper they're going to pay in 2 years. Next year they'll have to pay Stephon Castle. They just extended Julian Champagnie. I don't think not there he's much, but he just got a $50 million a year extension. Carter Bryant, another young player that they have, so I can keep doing this. So I think guys should continue to take pay cuts, take 40, $50 million last year, still getting, 150, 200 plus million. And then, and again, like Jalen Brunson probably next year is going to get a crazy contract that he doesn't deserve. Wembanyama in the next 4 years will get another crazy supermax that'll make our eyes pop out of our heads. So Wembanyama signs an extension. The 49ers limited partner Vinod Kosha is buying the Seattle Seahawks for $9.6 billion. That's a crazy sale. I think it's like the second or third largest sale of a franchise in sports history. I think the Celtics have the largest. They went for a little bit over 10 billion last year. The Lakers are up there. The Broncos got sold for some crazy number. The Walmart guy when he bought them a few years ago, but Seahawks go for almost $10 million. That's a crazy number. To finish up this segment, before we go to the next segment, which will close out the show most likely, Jackson Sinner beats Alexander Zverev to win his second straight Wimbledon and his fifth overall Grand Slam. So congrats to him. He's definitely going to be the next great tennis player that we'll be watching for a long time. So I'm going to continue with my NFL preview series, going division by division, taking the over or the under on their over under win total and just break down each division. Today I'm going to continue on with the AFC West as I close up the AFC today. Winning the division, I believe, will be the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they bounced back after a 6-11 year last season and win the division. Look, I'm not a Chiefs fan. I'm as fan of the Chiefs as everyone, but also I'm not going to be super biased and hateful like the rest of you are. I never understood why we all thought that they were going to be like dead and the window was completely done. I get it, Mahomes is going to be 30. He's not been as productive stats wise the last couple of seasons, coming off a knee injury, the cap hell that we're in. First of all, cap hell to an extent is a bit of a myth because of the way teams can now move around it, the way they can convert people's contracts into bonuses and scratch out money, especially with Chiefs have done with Patrick Mahomes for years now. The cap goes up every single year. It's gone up to $300 million, which is it's up like 40 or 50 million probably over the last 5 years probably. They're creating revenue like they don't know what to do with. This is also a team that honestly wasn't they were due for some regression last year, 2 years ago. How many games they won? 4 games did they win? It was pretty much every single game. Last year they was completely flipped. They were 1-9 in one score games.
Think about it.
If they were 4-6, which still wasn't good in one score game, that would give them 9 wins. So they could have made the playoffs though. So they're going to be better. Mahomes has a true running back one for probably the first time in his career, honestly, and Kenneth Walker, a dynamic back who was a Super Bowl MVP, has had that great playoff run. Very, very explosive back. Andy Reid's going to love him in that offense. It's going to make that offense a lot better. I understand Kelsey is 36 years old, and the receiving core isn't fantastic. Rashee Rice got all these legal problems. Xavier Worthy is kind of just fine. But now of having that dynamic back, if Rice and Worthy are out there, they are productive receivers. Kelsey is still a half decent tight end. The offensive line is going to be good. So I think the offense is going to be miles and miles better. Their offense has honestly struggled over the last couple of seasons, especially last year, but it's going to be a lot better this year. And defensively, they do lose two very good corners. McDuffie is an all-pro. You lose him. Jalen Watson was also a good corner. You lose him as well. He also goes to the Rams. But they did a good job. I thought they did a very good job in the offseason of kind of replenishing that secondary, adding Ahoy Gilman from the 49ers. He comes over, drafting Mansour Delana, who I think is going to be a stud. You bring back L'Jarius Sneed. He just feels like a guy that just fits Spagnuolo's defense. There's a reason he didn't really work out in Tennessee. I think we'll play a little better now back in Kansas City. I don't know if that secondary will be great, but it's certainly not a complete liability. Delane could easily win Defensive Rookie of the Year. At safety, you have Gilman, who's a good player. Snead coming back. You got Karlaftis off the edge. You have Chris Jones. You draft Peter Woods. Those two together are going to be dominant. Uzama on the other side. You draft R. Mason Thomas in the middle rounds. They have two solid linebackers. Drew Tranquil. Nick Bolton's very good. And this is going to be a good team. No doubt. You do look at the tier of the offensive line with Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith. That's one of the best interior O-line duos in the league. You have a good right tackle in Jalen Moore. Your left tackle, Josh Simmons, first round pick a year ago, was injured last year. We all knew that was a move for this year. He was one of the most talented tackles coming out in that 25 class. We just knew about the health concerns. If Kingsley Summatalia even pulls his weight at left guard, that's going to be one of the better offensive lines in the league. And you look at the receivers, I know I said the group isn't great, but again, if Rice and Warrior are out there, they are productive. You even drafted another back behind Walker and Emmett Johnson, who I think could be pretty good. Checkmon Thornton played a lot better last year for the Chiefs. Uh, Eric Bieniemy coming back as the offensive coordinator after a few years away from it, bouncing around. This is just where he fits. He's an upgrade over Matt Nagy. This team's going to be miles better. And I expect them to be a contender once again, and they will win the AFC West. I'll take the over with 10.5 wins. The Denver Broncos finishing in second place in this division. Throw runners at 9.5. I am going to take the over, but they are going to come back down to earth a little bit. I know roster wise, it's a very strong roster. I like Bo Nix a lot. I think he's a very good quarterback. I'd say he's a top 16 quarterback in the league. I'd say I think adding Jalen Waddle was a good move. I think they overpaid. They gave probably a few too many picks, but he's a legit deep threat. He can settle in as a wide receiver too. Sutton can be a legit wide receiver one, as he always is. You have Troy Franklin can settle in as the three. Marvin Mims can settle in as the four. So that was a good move. They have an elite offensive line. That defense is still going to be fantastic. Zach Allen's an all-pro. Singleton is a good player. Nick Bonino's a stud. In the secondary, you got Pastor Tan, who's defensive player of the year 2 years ago. Hufanga, if he can ever stay healthy. Riley Mauston, who a really good player. Sean Payton, who I don't like, but he's an excellent head football coach. I think it was the right move to promote Davis Webb to offensive coordinator. Ben Joseph's done a good job with the defense. But they are in for some regression. You look at the rest of that division. On paper, the Raiders are better. Chiefs are obviously going to be a lot better. And AFC as a whole is going to be better. They're not going to cakewalk to 14 wins again. That's just not uh, sustainable. But this is still a very good team that will win probably 10 or 11 games. They'll be in the playoffs. I think them and the Patriots are kind of in the same boat. On paper, they're probably slightly better. You look at the Patriots, all the pieces they lost, they replaced with at least lateral moves, and you added a true wide receiver one in AJ Brown. But at the same time, with Vrabel dealing with off the field stuff and the schedules being so much harder, they're gonna win less games. Even if the roster on paper looks a little stronger, they're just scheduling in the NFL is a big deal. So they're not the team is significantly worse. They're just simply going to win less games. And Denver, same thing. You didn't really lose anybody major. It's mostly the same group. You add Jalen Wild to an already very good team. So on paper, you think this roster is just as good, if not a little bit better than it was last year. But just schedule wise, you're gonna play some tougher games. So you're not gonna be as fortunate with the harder schedule. So you're going to lose a couple of You're gonna lose a couple of games that you didn't lose last year. But this is still a good football team, barring something completely unforeseen. They'll probably win 10, 11 games and they'll be in the playoffs. So I've Denver as a playoff team, but I do regress a little bit. Third place in the AFC West, I have the Los Angeles Chargers finishing in third place. They're at 9.5. This is a tough one. This is such a tough division. Playing the Chiefs and the Broncos 4 times this year is going to be hard. Last year, playing the Chiefs twice a year wasn't that as big of a deal. But I'm going to take the over on the 9.5 wins. My thoughts are they won 11 games last year. They had two all-pro tackles, Rashawn Slater and Joel, pretty much not play at all. Slater got hurt in training camp, all got hurt very early on in the season. Both are healthy going into the season. They have a much better offensive play caller in Mike McDaniel compared to Greg Roman. He's just a better fit for what Justin Herbert does best. Herbert at his best is a gunslinger who could occasionally make a play with his legs. He shouldn't be, Greg Roman's got you high when you want to play super conservative and run the ball 4 times a game. That offense, that style of offense just doesn't work anymore. That's why it didn't work in Baltimore. At first it did, and then eventually teams just caught on that they're just not going to throw the ball, and they were able to stop the Ravens. Eventually, Roman fits best in the role he is now with the Giants is like some sort of senior offensive assistant or some crap like that. So yes, the Chargers they didn't do anything crazy in the offseason that they never do. I don't love the key Mestor pick in the first round. I just think playing across from Ruben Bain at Miami, he's 25 years old. I just don't know what his ceiling is in the NFL. Not that he's not a talented player, but I just don't know what his ceiling is truly going to be. But they didn't lose anything super major. And again, having those two tackles healthy, plus McDaniel coming in there as the offensive coordinator makes this team better. If Omarion Hampton is healthy, that's also a huge difference. He's a really dynamic back. He was a first round pick a year ago who didn't really get to showcase himself. Now you have Keaton Mitchell backing him up. He's a productive running back too when he's healthy. Vidal could step into a running back 3 role. And I know they don't have a wide receiver 1 still. Blad McConkey is in the scrub. Quentin Johnson had the best year of his career last year. Quite a lot of the drop issues when he was healthy. Year 2 of Trey Harris. Arundé Gatson in year 2. You bring in David Njoku as well at tight end. He's very good if he's healthy. You bring in Charlie Kolar, who's an excellent blocking tight end. So the pass blocking unit, which was maybe the worst in football last year, is going to be better. Having the tackles healthy, you have a better center in Tyler Baez. The guard spot is definitely still a weakness. Cole Strange isn't great. He's health concerns. Jake Slars is kind of eh. You have Trevor Penning there, but he's just kind of okay. but it's on paper it is significantly better. They just still have an elite defense. I know Jesse Minter has been with Jim Harbaugh for years since he was at Michigan, took the head coach out in Baltimore. But still defense that you in the middle, you have Devin Tomlinson who's a great run stopper. You have Taylor Tart who's a good player. Tupeludo is a very good player off the edge. You still have Denzel Perriman, the veteran linebacker. Khalil Mack, who's hurt a decent amount, but when healthy, he's still a very productive player. You draft Hakeem Mestor, who I don't hate the fit. Again, I don't think it was worth a 22nd pick, but should be relatively productive this year as a rotational pass rusher. In the secondary, Tarheeb Still's one of the best young corners in the game. At safety, Derwin James is an absolute stud. You have Dante Jackson there at corner as well. Great kicker and Cameron Dicker. This is still a very good team that should make the playoffs. So I'll take the over on that. And the Raiders are definitely going to finish in last place in the AFC West. But the Raiders, they're at 5.5 is their over under. I'm gonna take this. Was kind of torn on this one going in, but I'll take the under. I do think this team is definitely trending in the right direction. Their roster is considerably better. They made a bunch of moves in the offseason that I liked a lot. Did you overpay for Tyler Linderbaum? Yes. $27 million for a center is ridiculous. But if it fills a major need, he's one of the elite centers in the game. They really need to fill the middle of the offensive line, and they did by adding him. Defensively, adding Quay Walker, who's a very good linebacker, especially in coverage. Red N'Kobe Dean was another very solid linebacker. You had Kwity Paye, who was relatively productive the last few years in Indianapolis as an edge rusher. He's definitely nothing to just completely look past. You had Kirk Cousins, who, yes, he's 1,000 years old. He's 38, torn Achilles in the rearview mirror. I'm not sure what he has left. He was just serviceable-ish after taking over from injured Michael Pank's last year in Atlanta. But I think he's a perfect mentor for Fernando Mendoza. Just the personalities are so similar. The play styles are similar. I think Mendoza is a higher ceiling than Kirk Cousins, even at Cousins' prime. But the play styles are very similar. It just makes perfect sense. Apparently, Mendoza said Kirk Cousins definitely rubbed off on him. The Fib Max Crosby trade, I gotta think that's gotta ruffle some feathers, but I mean, if he's healthy, this is one of the five best players at his position at the end of the day. And on top of the fact that their division is brutal, playing the Chiefs, Chargers, and the Broncos 6 times a year is going to be hard. You're probably gonna start Kirk Cousins, who's 38 years old. Mendoza is a rookie, who's just first overall. Genty, I do think will be a lot better than you had Mike Wash to take some of the burden off them. The receiver room is not good at all. Jalen Nailor, I think he fits well in Clint Kubiak's offense. I like that head coach hire, but not a one. Trey Tucker is still developed, but I don't think he'll be a one anyway. Same thing with Jack Beck. I love Brock Bowers, start time. You even have Michael Mayer there. Like I said, the O-line will be better if Colton are left tackle, a healthy Paris Johnson their right guard, Linderbaum. And they're a little bit better defensively, but how many games is Crawford going to play? I mean, Crosby, and without him, that pass rush is very bad. But they are better. You look at the secondary. Taron Johnson as a nickelback is solid. German Chin's a pretty good safety, but this team is still probably a year away from even being a year away at this point. They're very young. They're going to play a tough schedule. They're not going to win many games. I think they'll be more competitive for sure than they were last year. They are trending in the right direction, but this team is still going to be buried in the AFC West. So I have the Raiders finishing in last place. That's all I got for you guys today. Till next time, so long, and have a great day.